Welcome to Rebel Without Applause, where we explore the intersection of sports, entertainment, and culture. I'm your host, Maurice Bob, and today we have a very special guest on the line. She starred at East Technical High School in Cleveland, Ohio, where she was a McDonald's All-American, a Gatorade Ohio Player of the Year, and Miss Ohio basketball. Then she went on to UConn, where she earned back-to-back championships, as was a member of the Big East All-Rookie team, and she earned a bachelor's degree in political science. Then went on to be drafted by the WNBA in the first round by the Seattle Storm, and now she's playing over at professional basketball in Turkey. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program, Barbara Turner.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear, especially in this time. Where am I catching you these days?
I'm in Houston, Texas right now. Just in and getting ready to go back in the first week of September to Turkey.
Perfect. Okay, well, we'll definitely get to that. So obviously the program is called Rebel Without Applause. And, what I like to do is start off with, what is your most rebellious moment?
Like in my life?
Yes. It could be personal, it could be professional.
I mean, my most rebellious moment was not succumbing to the pressures of where I grew up. I just refused to not be successful. I refused to not be somebody that would be remembered from where I grew up from. And I just carried that mindset throughout my entire life. And I still have it. Like, I still try to attain the highest amount of success in whatever I'm doing. So I don't know if you would define that as rebellious, but I feel as though you have to kind of be that way in order to get over the pressures of, the things that I could have experienced had I not had that mindset.
So it sounds like you developed that mindset at a very early age. Where did you get that drive from? Did you have a role model or where did it come from?
I mean, my biggest supporter and my biggest fan and my biggest critic has always been my grandmother. She just instilled in me to believe in myself no matter what I decided to become. She instilled in me that, to always believe in my name, believe in who I was, and just stay driven at whatever I wanted to do. So I would probably say her more than anybody. And then I started getting interested in basketball because of my brother.
Okay.
So, combination of the two of them really is what helped propel me forward and helped me understand that, I wasn't going to be another statistic from where I grew up from.
So obviously, when you say statistic, those are types of things that plague, African-American communities growing up.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that someone like you is able to use sports and get out where others aren't? What is it about sports that allows you to sort of break free?
I mean, it's just an outlet. It's a way to get away from things you see every day. It's a way to get away from the bad influences that you could become a part of, like gangs or, drug dealers, or become interested in drugs myself. So it was just, I just always thought, what could I do to get away from it? And it's funny because about 6 or 8 months ago, I received, we had to write a paragraph basically on what we wanted to be when we grew up. And literally everything, and this was in the 5th grade, literally everything that I wrote about, I've pretty much done that and more. So I guess sports was just my way of, kind of just getting away from everything that was around me or that could have been around me in a negative way.
It's funny too, because, I grew up in a rough area as well. And there seems to be, like, even though it could be rough and tumble and things happen, there's almost an understanding with those that are doing wrong when they know about kids that are trying to keep the straight and narrow or doing well in sports. They tend to leave those kids alone and try to almost even protect them in the way. Did you see that in your area?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Still to this day, the people that grew up during my time hold a high amount of respect for me, and I feel safe even in the areas that are not as safe. Just because, people know who I am, people know what I brought to the city during my time in high school. And people know that the notoriety that I brought in a positive way. And usually when you have kids like that is bringing notoriety to an area in a positive way, they do tend to leave them alone. You can find very rare cases to where the gang life has that's been bringing positive things to the neighborhood. So I definitely experienced that growing up, still experience it now. And it was just another way to feel I needed to do something positive with my life just because I had that support from the people around me too.
So, speaking of high school, you and your team, you accomplished a major feat that hadn't been accomplished, in your city and state before, with your girls team. Can you talk about how you guys were able to, pull together and, really make an impact to that degree?
I think in my entire career, I just had this conversation with somebody today. I've always set out to elevate whatever situation that I've been in, whether that means I'm the best player and I'm trying to elevate it, whether that means being the best leader, the best teammate, trying to elevate my teammates to be great. So I just focused on that going into my senior year. We had gotten close my sophomore and junior year, but I wasn't ready from that standpoint of elevating us all the way to the top. And, I just got this attitude to where I had to do something different and from my junior year to my senior year. And I think that the main part of it was just leader and elevating us in a leadership way and then leading by example. My teammates saw all the attention that I got from colleges going into my senior year, top level school. All the top coaches came to my high school, which is crazy because of the area that it's in. And
Yeah.
it motivated them. And they wanted to be better. So they started to do extra workouts. They started to do extra practicing. They started to watch more basketball and learn more. So I think just seeing the success that I had and then wanting to have that same amount of attention, it kind of brought us together as a group and made us reach to attain more success. And we was able to win a championship.
Now, being that you were the girls team, obviously, and the WNBA was still in an infancy stage, were you guys pulling inspiration from watching them, or who were you watching to sort of pattern, your team against?
So oddly enough, we had a team in Cleveland when I was coming up, and when the inauguration of the WNBA started, there was a team in Cleveland, and John Lucas he became the Cavs head coach. I met him my sophomore year of high school, going into my junior year,
Okay.
and he was like, I heard you really good. I want to start training you, whatever. And I'm like, this is the head coach of the Cleveland Cavs. There's no way he's being serious, Gave me his information. So I was like, all right, I'm going to test him out. So I called him the next day. I was like, I'm ready to work out, whatever. So long story short, he brought me in the gym. I trained with him, and he was like, I want you to meet Lisa Boyer, who at the time, he was actually grooming to be the first female assistant coach in the NBA, which a lot of people don't put that fact out there. A lot of people think that it was Becky Hammond, but Lucas was the first one to kind of plant the seed that a woman could work in the NBA with Lisa Boyer. It wasn't legal at the time. The NBA didn't allow it, but he kind of did it behind the scenes. So I was introduced to her. I started training with her. She was an assistant coach with the Cleveland Rockers at the time. So sometimes I would work out with them and practice against them. So I got to see what it was like at the pro level. I had season tickets. My aunt had season tickets, so we would always go to games. So I got to see what it was like. So I didn't want anything less than to be a part of that.
Okay.
I got to see it and actually be in it and around it, through John Lucas.
Yeah. It really helps when you can make a tangible attachment, as far as your dreams, because it's one thing to have sort of things in your mind. When you can reach out and touch it and have something tangible to reach for, I think that really does help, you gravitate towards success. And obviously, it helped you to be the leader that you need to be to lead your team to the promised land. And you talked about, all the big name colleges coming to your games, and you went to, the best team really in the nation, especially with, women's basketball. Talk about what it came down to for you in choosing, UConn.
I cared about winning. I could have went to a lot of other schools and probably had success from a winning standpoint, and probably not won a national championship. Like, it would have been hard, and I would have had all the individual accolades and all that stuff. But at the time, they were the winningest team, and at the time, that was the biggest challenge for me. And in addition to that, believe it or not, being in Connecticut made me understand that I had to learn different worlds,
Okay.
because the world that I was in the city of Cleveland, where, I don't want to say it was hood or anything like that, but it was like I would have been limited had I not tried to expand myself and learn different worlds. And so I took that on as a challenge as well, to show that just because I'm from the city of Cleveland, I went to school in the hood, as people say, or whatever. And, it was just to show that I can attain success anywhere that I go in the world. And what better place than rural Connecticut, you know, to do that, or to try to do that. So I took that on as a challenge, in addition to the fact that they were a winning program as well.
So in your mind, you looked at, UConn as this, ultimate plateau, and you said to yourself, I belong there. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to star there. And that's why you chose the Huskies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, in those exact words, I'm going to go there. I'm going to star there. I'm going to win a national championship. Everything to the T.
So, when you were coming in, you had a huge changing of the guard. I mean, some amazing players, leaving there. Talk about what it was like stepping on the campus in the shadows of a Sue Bird and Swing Cat. All these ultimate players there.
Well, my freshman class, although we were highly touted in our respective high school class, we came in as underdogs because, they graduated all those, future Hall of Fame players. And nobody believed that we would be as good as we were. But again, my mindset, my mentality is always elevate the situation, always do everything I can to make the situation better or just as good as it was. And I came in with the mentality that we were going to win right away. And that's not being cocky. That's not being like, thinking too much of myself. I just didn't go in with the mindset of what people thought of us.
Yeah.
I never went in with the mindset of what people thought of me. So, I was like, we're going to win a national championship and we're going to go 40-0. We play 40 games, because they were 39-0 the year before. And we had a banquet, and one of the fans or something like that asked the question, how do you top 39-0 to Gino? And before he could answer, I was like, play 40 games. And I was like, I didn't laugh. The fans were laughing. Ha, 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 this knucklehead freshman.
You were serious.
I was dead serious. And we won the first 30 games. Like, literally won the first 30 games. And then it was like, whoa, like, this kid is like, she's legit. Like, she's telling the truth. It took that for the respect to come around for my class. And after that, we lost in the Big East tournament, which I think we needed to lose because we were young and we needed a moment before the tournament to kind of humble us.
Yeah.
And kind of make us reset. And it did. And we went on to win the national championship. So I was mostly right, but, we just lost one game. So.
Yeah, I think, you'd rather win the chip than to go undefeated in the regular season and lose. So that's probably a great trade-off. What was it like playing for a legendary coach, like Coach Gino?
It was everything. I get this question a lot. Sometimes to be honest, it's uncomfortable for me to answer because, everybody expects to hear the politically correct thing. He's great. It's amazing. It's this, it's that. No, it's a lot of things. It's challenging. Some days it's too demanding on a kid or, somebody in their early 20s. Some days it's, you can succumb to the amount of pressure and you can get sort of depressed. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot to play there. But I will say that with all of that I experienced, all the hardships and difficulties, it built me up to deal with any adversity that I would deal with as a professional. So Although it was a lot, although it was challenging, although he was a lot, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world just because it helped mold and shape me to be where I am today.
And and typically when you have a coach like that, and they challenge you, it's only going to make you better. Iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll treat
Wait, it's different though. I mean, we can go with the cliche of it was a challenge, but in some ways it was a bit more, if you think in terms of people have different mental capacities. Not
Okay.
everybody could rise to those occasions all the time, or not everybody was mentally prepared to rise to those occasions. So it wasn't a challenge in the sense that it was something that I couldn't handle. It was a challenge in the sense that it was like, whoa, like this is a lot, But I mean, just where I'm from and how things are, I'm gonna rise to the occasion no matter what. I'm gonna get through it no matter what. But the next kid, they may not be able to, or the next kid, they may have some issues leaving there because of those challenges and it being a lot, So it just depends on person to person. But I'm just saying, in my experience, it was a lot. A lot.
Yeah. Now you played with another great player on that team, Diana Taurasi. Can you talk about how your first interactions with her and kind of the battles and the trenches, that you ladies went through?
I mean, because I was a knucklehead freshman who thought highly of myself, we clashed a lot. Both of our competitive natures and how we are, it clashed. But once I developed, I don't remember at what point it happened, but once I developed the amount of respect for the pressures that she was dealing with, for the demands that she was dealing with on a daily basis, once I started to understand that, I developed a different level of respect for her.
Okay.
I guess it had to be me getting through it, starting to break through it myself. But, hers was at a much higher level than what mine was as a freshman coming in, because she was pressured to be great every night, Whereas I'm a freshman, nobody expects a freshman to be good. If a freshman is good, it's a bonus, So I think the little clash between us went out the window when I started to understand that, man, this girl has to deal with a lot on a day-to-day basis, And she's great, and she's great at it. To add to that, she's great at it.
Did the back and forth and kind of push pull you had with her? How did that affect you? As a player, moving forward.
Not at all. It made me better because she's another person that whatever situation she wants to be in, she wants to elevate the situation and she wants it to be great and she wants to win. So it wasn't a thing that it was a push-pull thing and I got worse or, it kind of pushed me behind everybody. It made me step up and rise to the occasion more because I wanted to be like her or in that light like her,
And you were successful. You made the Big East all rookie team. So that shows right there that you took to the hot water and you got cooking.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So after having such a successful college career, you went on to get drafted by the WNBA. What was that like? Like you said, looking back to when you were a kid and you knew. You were going to make it out. You were going to be successful. To hear your name called and be drafted, what was that like for you? What was the culmination of that moment?
I mean, my whole family was there. Everybody that I wished to see me in that light was there to share that moment with me. And it's something that I'll never forget. It made me understand more of all the struggles and everything that I went through was for a reason. And it made me appreciative of the entire process. Everybody that helped me along the way, high school coaches, high school trainer, Lisa Boyer, John Lucas, it made me appreciate, the the UConn staff and all of that. It made me appreciate all the experiences that I had because, at the end, that's what the end result was. And still to this day, it's something that, I hold near to my heart forever.
What was something that you like you told your biggest mentor when you did get that call?
Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for not allowing me to give up on myself. Thank you for making me push through when I didn't feel like it, because, on the road to greatness, everybody talks about the end of the road, but they don't know the struggles that it takes to get there. They don't know the days that you don't feel like doing it, just being my support system. Just thank you. That's the only thing that you can say at that point.
It really hammers home that Drake lyric, "You wasn't with me when I was shooting in the gym." You really appreciate the ones who were, with you. It really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So you played for, the Storm and, the Comets, and, you found yourself back, in the Connecticut area.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like, going back to kind of where it all kind of blew up for you?
It was like I never left college, because UConn fans are so loyal. They never forget you. So, I had that same support. The same group that used to stand over the tunnel when I would run in the locker room in college was right there when I was with the Connecticut Sun. So it was like I was back at home. My WNBA career was, you don't ever want to say it was a failure, because I did it for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that looking back and the things that I know now, it would have been a lot of things that I would have done differently in order to make it a longer WNBA career. I don't regret it, because I've had a long, illustrious career in general, and I'm still at it. But there are some things that, from a maturity standpoint, from a understanding how to take care of your body and all of those things, that I know now that I would have done differently in my whole WNBA career in general.
Now, it's funny you mentioned that, because, you transitioned, like you said, to playing overseas, and really, you see a lot more men's professionals going overseas now, but really the women started that whole genesis, because they didn't necessarily have somewhere to play here, in America. Can you talk about kind of where that's kind of transitioned from the beginning to now, where it's more popular? The growth of the international game, and, kind of where you find yourself there now?
From the beginning until now, it's grown so much. It's so many opportunities to make so much money doing it. It's so many opportunities to have a great career only there, as opposed to playing here and in the WNBA. So, it's a great experience. You learn a lot of different cultures. You learn a lot of different languages. You learn a different style of basketball. It's been a huge, huge, huge market for the last 15 years. So, now it's like it's expanding, and now it's like typical. It's the same now.
So would you say, because, even though the WNBA is a lot more popular than it was, it has still gone through some growing pains, and it even got to the point where a lot of NBA players have stepped up to the plate to help promote and support and try to drive attendance there. Do you feel like fans overseas appreciate the women's game more so than they do here in America?
Or I think it's a little different there, because overseas in most countries, betting is really popular.
Okay.
Because betting is really popular, people are investing money, so they want to see the teams that they support, or the clubs that they support in their respective cities, do well. So they're coming to the game, a lot for that reason alone.
Okay.
In addition to, loving to see basketball. So that's probably a little the difference between here and there, is that it's more of a I guess you would call it investment. So, and then the supporters and the sponsors come for betting as well. And that's what a lot of people
Okay.
don't know about overseas. So people will say, well, they support women's basketball more overseas. No, that's not necessarily true. It is true, but it's not necessarily true, because there are a lot of people that support women's basketball here. It's just a different platform, and what is invested into it is different.
Okay. So if the league here kind of embraced gambling a little bit better, you think it would help the game?
There is it's a positive and a negative to the gambling part of it, though, because you don't have any control over who's betting. So, it could be referees that's reffing the game. It could be people that's keeping the score. Like, you just don't know. Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy to overseas basketball at all. I'm not saying that games are fixed or anything like that. But I'm saying if we did that here in America, then that's a possibility,
Yeah. So you mentioned, obviously you come from where you come from and you had to go to a completely different environment in UConn and you succeeded there. And now, you're going over to Turkey. Mm-hmm. Turkey's got to be a huge departure from, not just what you've seen, but what you're used to, different type of culture. What has it been like, not just being a professional athlete, but also being an African-American woman over there, acclimating and to that country, but also, trying to stand out to be a player?
I mean, part of it depends on what city you're in there, because some cities are very modernized and it's like being here in America, like it's Istanbul, or as we say Istanbul, but it's actually Istanbul, the capital. Okay. Ankara, and I can name a few, Chesme, I can name a few other cities that it's very modernized or whatever. But if you go to a smaller city and it's more Muslim, obviously they've seen less Black people, of my skin tone, or haven't seen Black people at all. So you'll have people stare at you and you'll have the awkward looks and the awkward feeling when you're out in public and things like that. But other than that, for the most part, everything is just like being at home. I've actually made myself learn the language because I've been there so long. So that has made it an even easier transition for me. So I have friends over there and everything. So it's just easy.
So have you grasped the language enough to where you could call out a play in Turkish?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can speak to the referees in Turkish, all that, yeah, for sure.
Can you give us a sample, like, call out a play in Turkish for us?
I mean, a number?
Anything. Give us a sample.
Beer. Beer means one. Beer equals third base. I can count. I mean, that's pretty much all the plays are in numbers. So, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's a really great, mindset to have, to not just go over there and be kind of boisterous in your Americanism. You're going over there and embracing the heritage and the culture and the language.
Absolutely. They respect that more. They appreciate it more. They do. When you come over there and you don't have the mindset of America is better and all, and you respect their culture, you want to learn, you want to understand them and the way they do things and stuff like that. So
I understand that you also got a dual citizenship as well.
I do. Mm-hmm. I do.
What does that feel like? When you can say that you're a citizen of a whole nother country.
A whole nother country.
What does that mean at a time like this? Because I feel it feels like America is not as loved as it used to be when you're overseas.
Did it freeze?
Yes, it did.
All right, we're back. Okay.
Yes, we're back.
Okay.
No, I was just asking, what does it feel like having that other citizenship, especially at a time where, America's not as loved overseas as it used to be, or, people are always jealous of America.
It doesn't feel any different to me. I mean, Turkey has become a second home, to be honest. So I'm comfortable there. I'm comfortable in Europe as well. So it doesn't feel any different to me, honestly.
Okay. So, I have to ask you, when you were dealing with the times that we're in now, what does it feel like kind of being here, but also being there when you look at what happened with George Floyd and, how it was a turning point, for basically everybody came together to protest how wrong it was. And it really shone a light on, the racial discrimination, the police brutality, and all these things. What's it like kind of being on, both sides of the world, kind of looking at this, these issues?
I mean, to be honest, when I'm there and my friends that hear about the news that happens here with police brutality and the murder of innocent Black people, it's embarrassing, to be honest, because they can't understand why the color of someone's skin would be the reason why somebody would want to hurt them, not because of their character and not because of something that they did to harm them. They just simply are being murdered for the color of their skin, and it doesn't translate well with them. Like, it doesn't make sense to them. So when I'm there, it's embarrassing. When I'm here, it's disheartening. It's sad. I have brothers, I have nephews, I have close friends who have little brothers, who have sons, who have kids, and I worry every day. It sounds so cliche because so many Black people say I worry every day, I worry every day, but it legit could happen to anybody. And I don't know what my mindset would be if I experienced that within somebody close to me. But I do know that something has to change. Um, I do know that it has to be taken seriously. The George Floyd incident was like kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for Black people. But I think that this has all been building up for years now. If we go down the list, the outrage behind Trayvon Martin to Michael Brown to the rest to Oscar Grant, we can keep naming all the names.
There are so many names. It's just too many names.
Sad that you can actually see. I can sit here and name 10 people right off the top of my head. So I stand with the movement. I stand for Black Lives Matter. I understand what Black Lives Matter means. Not what the media try to portray it as, or not what our president tries to portray it as. And I understand that at some point we're going to have to pinpoint one leader, one Martin Luther King, one Malcolm X, somebody like that that's going to spark the change for us to not have to experience this anymore.
Exactly. We have a real dearth of leadership, especially in African American community, and that's highlighted only when you see some of these great civil rights leaders passing. Like John Lewis, that really hammers home. Like, he was such a great man, but do we have another John Lewis in the offing? That we're grooming, that's coming on.
That's the question for us, and that's what I feel as though the outright is trying to eliminate. They don't want another leader like that. We have to keep working within ourselves, and we have to keep figuring out and educating ourselves on who can become that, who has the power to become that, who knows enough to become that. Because if you think in terms of, for example, a Martin Luther King and how smart he was, he used the Constitution in order to spark his movement. We got to find somebody that knows the laws and knows all the behind the scenes stuff from a political standpoint enough in order to spark that movement. We can't just go based on emotions. We can't just go based on, this person was murdered, this, and that. We have to continue to educate ourselves. We have to continue to learn the laws, learn the ins and outs of the laws, and how we can sort of, I don't want to say manipulate it because it sounds bad, but how we can make it to where everything is equal, basically.
Yeah, and it's evident that we have a long way to go, and and especially when you look at, like you said, the women are always in the throes of major movements, and you look at what's happening with the, Atlanta Dream. They literally have a co-owner who's speaking out and deriding the Black Lives Matter movement, and you have the players who are stepping up and fighting back, and they're saying, okay, we're not standing for this, and they wore those shirts where to vote for that senator's opponent, which I thought was very, in your face. And
dope. That was dope. That was dope.
I mean,
dope for so many. It was dope because a lot of people that don't know, they took it as them wearing a t-shirt, but those girls actually took the time to educate themselves. They learned about her opponent. They learned about her opponent's philosophies and what their political beliefs were. They educated themselves. That's what we have to do as a Black community, is continue to educate ourselves to see what's right. Get out and vote. Know who we're voting for. Don't just say get out and vote and then go vote for somebody and don't know the candidate and don't know what they're doing. So that's why I think what the Atlanta Dream did was like so groundbreaking, because they actually took the time to educate themselves before they decided to do the t-shirts and speak out against their owner.
And, they really showed unity, not just with that team, but across the league. And one thing that's just kind of disconcerting to me was, the players union, they tried to call for her ouster, because it's almost as if she's like the female Donald Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't go racial epithet, but she's pushing against her own players' interests, and apparently the commissioner can't force her to sell the team or whatever else. So they're gonna have to find ways to, I guess, still play, but also keep the movement going, but also deal with her and her noise as she's trying to push the agenda, because she's up running for election. She's a big Trump supporter. She has all these sort of anti, Black Lives Matter ideologies, and it's got to be difficult to be, a player on that team and having to deal with that, because it's not just that team; it's the whole league that she's basically, shooting the middle finger at.
Girls, it's like you're working for a Fortune 500 company and your CEO is racist, but it's a Fortune 500 company. And you're not in a position to stand out and make moves and do things on your own. So you have to live and survive in that, basically. And I'm not comparing the WNBA situation to a Fortune 500 company, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
What they're doing is exactly what they need to do. I wouldn't say protest and not play games and things like that, because that's also not in their best interest if we're being realistic. But continue to speak out, continue to let your voice be heard, continue to do things that show a symbol of you being against what she stands for. And that'll speak more to your character than you going out and playing in the game and people judging you for playing for somebody that doesn't support your cause. So what they're doing is absolutely perfect.
What do you see as being the long game? Because, obviously it's going to come to a point where, she's going to have to either win her seat or lose her seat. And then after sort of the whole political machine has kind of died down, where's it going to go then? Is she going to backtrack or still push forward with it? Where do you see the long game, with the team and what they should do?
Who she is who she is. It's not going to change if she's the senator or not. If she's not the senator, then she's going to be, a Republican Trump supporter, as an everyday citizen. So who she is who she is. What she's going to do with the team is going to be what she's going to do with the team. We don't know what her reasoning is for continuing to be a co-owner of the team. It could be for her own personal financial gain. We don't know. So we can't say what things are going to be like if she's not the senator. What we do know is who she is isn't going to change. She doesn't believe in Black Lives Matter. She sees it as a political stunt. So, that's just who she is.
Yeah. And, obviously her character has been called into question when she made those suspect trades during the early parts of the COVID-19 crisis, when she made all that money, that knowledge where the rest of us didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you a lot about her as an individual right there.
Right.
But can you speak to kind of another initiative where Maya Moore, at the top of her game, she put the basketball down and went to help a guy who was wrongfully convicted fight his case and eventually get out of prison. Can you talk about kind of the sacrifice and how motivating that was for other girls coming up?
Maya Moore is a movement. Let's just say what it is. She's a movement in herself. She needs to be recognized as that. She needs to be appreciated as that. I don't know of any athlete other than Ali that in their prime of their career, in their best years of their career, would have put everything on hold for something that they stood for or something that they stood against. So she's an entire movement by herself. I hold a tremendous amount of respect for her. I already did as a basketball player, because I think just what she accomplished in a short amount of time was amazing. But what she accomplished now is just, it took her to a whole nother level as a person and everything else. I'm proud to even have met her when she was at UConn and practiced with her one day or whatever. So, that's one of those stories that I'll look back and brag about. Like, yeah, I knew Maya Moore, not personally, but I had encounters with her, and I think that's cool. I think that's cool that her name is on that level with some of the greatest athletes ever as a women's basketball player. I think that's amazing.
And then, we don't know what her, political aspirations might be or might not be. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's clear that she's a leader, at least by example, to be able to, like you said, step away at the top of her game and really believe in something and see it all the way through. I mean, she changed that man's life forever, but also you got to think about, the spark that she's also put into other people, not just other women, not just other female players, but also just regular people who want, see something wrong and they might want to get up and do something about it.
She educated herself. That's the key. None of this would even been possible if she didn't educate herself. She did. She learned what she needed to do to help this guy. And if that alone should be enough inspiration for all of us to get in the books and start to study and use, the internet to educate ourselves more. Because without that, what she accomplished wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah, we have to educate ourselves and do our own research, and not just be driven by what other people say. Mm-hmm. We have to really dig in, especially to our own history, because there's a lot of things that have been stricken from the record. I myself didn't know about Black Wall Street until it was part of that Watchmen show on HBO. Mm-hmm. And people were saying, why are they doing this or whatever? That's not real. And it turns out that really happened.
Real.
And there were a lot of those instances, in our history that we don't know about. And we just really need to dig deep and find out that information. And it'll help us, move forward, especially like, what we need to do, what we need to change, and where we need to go. So, I can't let you go without getting your thoughts on, the bubble. So we have two different bubbles. We have the NBA bubble and we have the WNBA bubble. Mm-hmm. And there were early on, I don't know what it's like now, but it seemed to be that the WNBA bubble wasn't as nice, we'll say, as the NBA bubble. What are your thoughts on, the bubble moving forward and, and what it's like for the girls playing there? I mean, have you spoken to any of them?
Yeah, I'm close with Megan Walker that plays in New York. But okay. I will say that first and foremost, America needs to be in the bubble because it's worked. They haven't had positive COVID cases, so it works. So I think America needs to consider putting ourselves in a bubble for 2 weeks or however long. It was 3 weeks for those guys. I think that they ended up doing that before they played. But in general, when it comes to NBA and WNBA, I hate those comparisons because we're dealing with two different worlds right now. Yes, it's the same sport, but in the women's game, in the WNBA, it's less players, it's less staff, it's less everything. So I'm not saying that to say they deserve the bare minimum. Heck no, not at all. But that's like where the difference comes from, and I guess that's where the difference comes from. And I've heard that the conditions in the NBA bubble aren't that great. So the most important thing for those guys is they're safe, they're not, exposed to the virus, and they're able to play the game that they love. So, we can't get spoiled and try to throw in comparisons and things like that. They're in a great place right now. They're in a lot better place than a lot of people in America right now during the pandemic. So I don't think there should be a complaint either way, but that's just me and how I think,
What do you think is going to take mentally for whatever team makes it and wins the championship? What do you think outside of the normal, mental barriers that you might have trying to chase a championship, but in that bubble, you're away from family, it's just a different, atmosphere altogether. What do you think is going to take whatever team makes it to get to that last hurdle?
Whoever is trying to get to the championship and to win it, they have to be focused on where they are now. They can't be focused on life as normal. They can't be focused on my family is here, my family is there. Not to say forget your family, but if you put those things in your mind, you start to miss it all the time, and then you forget what your actual job is. Of course you talk to your family and you keep up with day-to-day things with your kids and stuff like that, but you have to be locked into the moment of where you are and embrace it. And I think it's going to take those guys time, but over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll start to see it become normalized, and those guys will fall right into playoff mode and be ready to go chase a championship. Same with
So
the WNBA as well.
So who, in the WNBA bubble, who's your last 2 teams, and who you think is going to take it?
Right now, I got Chicago.
Okay.
And actually, I'll take that back. Chicago and Seattle. I'm going to go with Chicago and Seattle.
Okay. I guess I don't have to ask who out of those 2 you'll be pulling for, huh?
Yeah. Chicago and Seattle. Out of those 2, I don't know. It's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up?
Toss-up.
Okay. You're not going to ride for the team that drafted you?
I mean, yeah, because they got Breanna Stewart and they got Sue Bird and Jewel Lloyd. They got some great players, and they've won a championship already. They have the experience. So, it's hard for me to say them, but I think Chicago has a lot of talent as well, so it'll be competitive.
Okay. And obviously, I know you
expected Washington. I feel as though you need to give me a 2B because I got to throw the Mystics.
A 2B.
They are the defending champs. I apologize.
Okay. I'll let you have that.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about the NBA bubble? Who do you think is going to be the last 2 teams, and who will win it?
Believe it or not, Toronto. Mm-hmm.
Why do you think they've been so slept on? Even though they're the reigning champs, they did lose Kawhi.
I'm a huge fan, and that's an unpopular thing. But I pay attention to the way he leads. I pay attention to the way he responds when he doesn't play well now, and I think he's gotten over that hump from a mental standpoint. I think he's ready to lead the team to another finals.
Okay. Now, who do you think is going to be ultimately the champion?
One of those LA teams. One of those LA teams. I'm from Cleveland, grew up with Brian, so I'm always riding with Brian.
Okay. And I guess all they got to do is send Lou Williams to go get some more wings. And
let me take it back. I live in Houston, and I'm a Houston.
You know what? They're surprising me. I thought, that their height would get in the way, but their defensive tenacity has really been a surprise, especially with a D'Antoni-led team. You wouldn't think, defense would be a big thing with that team. But they really are rising to the occasion.
I'll throw the Rockets next too. It'll be Rockets and one of the LA teams to go to the finals, and it's going 7 games.
It's going 7 games?
Yep. 7 games. The Rockets are tough. They've been playing resilient, man. I gotta give credit to them. Where credit is due.
I think it's because of Russell Westbrook.
Absolutely.
I think he's kind of given them a jolt of that energy that he plays with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just rubbing off on everybody else. And a lot of people say he's like the best teammate they've ever had. So even though he gets this reputation as being kind of a hard guy, all of his teammates love him.
Here in Houston, they love him. They love him. He's a great guy. I haven't met him yet. I've been around pretty much all the guys, but I haven't met Russell personally yet, but I've heard nothing but great things about him.
Ooh, well, so, you said you're about to go back over to Turkey. Are you nervous about, any kind of
no, because
COVID protocol?
No, because they did their homework and they shut things down like we should have done in America. I'm sorry I'm moving around. I got to get ready. I got an appointment at 3:15 I'm going to be running late for.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. But yeah. So, I'm not worried about anything heading over there. They took care of everything that they needed to take care of up front. So, I'm comfortable.
Hey, I wish I could say the same here. I wish I could say the same.
I'm kind of anxious to get over there just because of the fact that they've done all their homework and did everything right.
Yeah, you can probably do a lot more things outside and be more social over there. But hey, it's really been a pleasure having you on. I wish you nothing but luck in your new season over there. And like I said, you're definitely one of the rebels that we love having, and we'd love to have you back anytime.